August 12, 1943. A warm afternoon at Camp Swift, Texas. Behind the barbed wire, German prisoners of war lounged in the shade, still reeling from the shock of their capture in Tunisia. Many had served under Rommel in North Africa, hardened veterans who believed the propaganda fed to them, that America was weak, lazy, a land of jazz, chewing gum, and chaos. But when a Red Cross truck dropped off English-language newspapers, some POWs crowded around and stared at a headline. Women at Willow Run set new bomber record. The article described a mile-long factory where thousands of women were building B-24 Liberators, one every hour. The Germans laughed at first, assuming exaggeration. Then they read details. 40,000 workers, assembly lines like rivers of steel, housewives welding wings and mothers riveting fuselages. The laughter stopped. They had never imagined women could build bombers, much less at a pace outstripping all of Germany's aircraft industry combined. For men raised in a culture that scorned women's industrial work, it was not just shocking, it was humiliating. The roots of this disbelief ran deep. Nazi ideology consigned women to motherhood and home. German factories employed women only reluctantly and always in minor roles. When Allied bombers shattered production lines in Hamburg and Essen, the Reich lacked replacements. Yet in America, mobilization meant mobilization for everyone. The U.S. government launched campaigns to recruit women into industry. The iconic Rosie the Riveter poster was more than a slogan. It was a revolution. By 1944, 6 million American women worked in factories, shipyards, and arsenals. They built tanks, rifles, ships, and above all, planes. The Germans, who believed democracy made nations weak, now faced armies fueled by women's labor. One lesser-known fact stunned POWs who later toured U.S. factories as laborers. At the Douglas Aircraft Plant in Long Beach, California, a visitor could walk the line and see grandmothers alongside teenagers riveting fuselages. At Boeing in Seattle, women tested bombers by taxiing them across runways before handing them over to male pilots. At Willow Run, women outnumbered men by 1943. Producing B-24 Liberators in sections that converged like rivers, wings, tails, fuselages, all meeting at a single line where the bomber rolled out whole. German engineers back home insisted it was impossible. But prisoners in Texas held the newspapers in their hands, with photos of women in coveralls and bandanas, smiling beside aircraft larger than anything the Luftwaffe could match. The math was devastating. Germany produced about 34,000 combat aircraft in 1943. America produced more than 85,000, most of them touched by women's hands. At Willow Run alone, monthly output in 1944 exceeded 650 bombers. To German prisoners who had watched mechanics hand-fit parts in dusty workshops, the thought of women assembling 18-ton bombers like automobiles was incomprehensible. One POW interviewed years later admitted, "We realized then the war was lost. If their women build planes, how can we win?" The shock was not only scale, but culture. German soldiers had been told that American women were frivolous, incapable of sacrifice. Yet here were wives and mothers taking 12-hour shifts, welding steel, and working through nights while their husbands fought abroad. POWs working on U.S. farms noticed women driving tractors, running businesses, even running local governments while men were away. In Germany, shortages grew worse every month. In America, production soared because women filled the gaps. Another little-known fact: some POWs were actually assigned to work in U.S. factories under guard. At one Midwest plant, Germans saw women operating drill presses with precision that rivaled trained machinists. They whispered among themselves that back home, German engineers would scoff at the sight. Yet the results were undeniable. Bombers rolled out daily, painted in olive drab, ready for Europe. One prisoner muttered, "If our Führer saw this, he would not believe it." The psychological blow deepened when POWs realized how America treated these workers. Women earned paychecks, bought homes, and spent wages on goods filling stores. POWs, used to ration cards and shortages, saw abundance. Ice cream in canteens, Coca-Cola in vending machines, candy bars at every corner. German propaganda had insisted America was collapsing under materialism. In truth, it was thriving, fueled by women's labor. On the battlefield, the impact was visible. In 1944, when Allied bombers darkened German skies, prisoners captured after D-Day whispered to comrades, "Those planes, they were built by women." Imagine the humiliation for men raised to think of women as weak, only to learn they now fought against machines produced by their hands. In interrogation, German officers admitted disbelief. "It cannot be true," one insisted, "that women built these." The American colonel, showing him photos, simply replied, "Every rivet, every seam." Industrial democracy had created what authoritarian efficiency could not. American women standardized production with astonishing speed. At Willow Run, one woman learned to weld in 2 weeks and spent the next 3 years producing hundreds of identical joints. The same task in Germany required skilled craftsmen. The efficiency multiplied. POWs who saw this realized Germany could not keep up. Some POWs even envied it. They wrote letters home, censored, of course, hinting at what they saw. "Here, women do men's work," one wrote, "and the nation is stronger, not weaker." For soldiers who had lost brothers on the Eastern Front because factories delivered too few tanks, the lesson was bitter. The statistics made mockery of German assumptions. By 1945, U.S. aircraft production peaked at 96,000 planes in 1 year. Germany's total war production never exceeded 40,000 annually. The difference was not only men versus men, it was women versus ideology. American women worked. German women were told to stay home. One system delivered steel. The other delivered shortages. The shock lingered after the war. Many POWs repatriated to Germany confessed they had underestimated America not because of its men, but because of its women. The image of Rosie the Riveter, flexing her arm under the slogan, "We can do it," became for them the symbol of defeat. They remembered the newspapers, the photographs, the endless columns of bombers overhead. One more overlooked fact. When American bombers destroyed German factories, replacement parts often arrived within weeks, built by women in Detroit, Cleveland, or Buffalo. POWs rebuilding bombed bridges asked one another, "How many women work against us today?" The answer was millions. In the end, the Germans had believed war was won with brilliance, with elite troops, with perfect machines. America showed them it was won with numbers, with workers, with everyone contributing. And nothing symbolized that better than women in bandanas driving rivets into bombers at Willow Run. For the prisoners staring at newspapers in Texas, or watching trains rumble past filled with planes destined for Europe, the realization was crushing. The Reich had dismissed half its people. America had mobilized them. And so, while German engineers built perfection too late, American women built bombers by the thousands, until the skies of Germany were never dark again.